Hi everyone, my name is Precious Salarda, and for my capstone, I explored the question, how can the use of art encourage discussion on the internal struggles of being a student? So I chose this as my capstone as a way to share about my experiences as a student, facing struggles like seeking validation, approval, and being a perfectionist, especially regarding my studies. That made me think of others who have similar experiences, and that through art, it can be a way for me to share my story, while others can have different interpretations and perspectives, hopefully leading to further discussions of the message or the meaning of the works. I started preparing for my series of artworks during the summer, when I brainstormed ideas for my sustained investigation for my AP art portfolio. I originally planned to only create 4 to 5 pieces for my capstone, but then decided to include most of my work, only 10 out of 12, to have a deeper understanding of my topic. I kept track of my progress by setting deadlines for each piece, as well as journaling in a notebook about completed tasks and things to work on. I planned that before winter break, I would finish half of the portfolio, so 6 out of 12, but only got to finish 5. Some of the artwork took way longer to do and I underestimated the time. So for winter break, I made a goal to do 5 pieces, and I did finish 3 of them, and then worked on the rest for the remainder of the semester in my art class, during my spare block, and at home. I finished creating the artworks at the end of January and spent time working on the film on spring break. For my art portfolio, I had a separate inquiry question that guided me to develop ideas for my pieces one by one, which started off as, how does valuing success affect our perspective on life? The first 4 pieces convey the effects of striving for superficial success, referencing my own experiences and thoughts. For example, awards, approval, etc. Further into my inquiry, I investigated how success shaped my self-value and the impact it has on how I perceive it, and how desiring shallow achievements feels less and less special. This led to my analysis of the concept's subjectivity, how we all have our own meaning of success, and the exploration of questions like, what can we learn from our pursuit of success, and how does a person's definition of it evolve? Before this project, I thought of success as something to do with rewards and competition, how hard work throughout our lives can benefit us later on, which is true. However, I came to a realization that there are also other things we can learn from our journey of finding our own success, which for me was embracing the lessons from trial and errors. Reflecting on my journey as a student and the struggles I face, or rather being preoccupied with what success is to me, made me more self-aware. This series about pressure, introspection, and acceptance allowed me to identify lessons I can now keep in mind. Welcoming trial and errors to find a lesson I can learn and improve on was important to becoming more mature and having a stronger mindset. Also, this helped me learn what is important to me, my goal being to strive for personal development. I think that while getting rewards or achievements is great, it doesn't compare to the feeling of being fulfilled when you strive to be a better version of yourself by learning from past experiences. Additionally, I collaborated with my art teacher, Ms. Foster, who's also my mentor, in my exploration of my topic. She suggested ways I could delve into my inquiry, such as using myself more as a reference for compositions as opposed to finding references online, and gave pointers to stay on track of my topic. So you can see that for one of my pieces, I actually use a reference picture of myself. Moreover, I did some experiments with the materials I used for my pieces, and asked for feedback about incorporating new materials, which encouraged me to do so and explore in multiple pieces. What surprised me was how our ideas were already similar and how her feedback was what I already thought of prior to our meetings. While her comments were suggestions, I considered them, which helped me go out of my comfort zone in the process of this project. So for some of the pieces, I experimented with foam board to create a 3D effect that just enhances the artwork and creates depth. Being in my art class also meant that I had the opportunity to ask my peers for feedback, so I could make sure that I stayed true to my inquiry and expanded on the subject. Something I learned about myself was how passionate I was about my goal of expressing my thoughts and my topic in my work. I then used this passion as motivation to be more persistent, despite the tight deadlines, to endure and face obstacles that came, and most importantly, to be more confident in sharing my thoughts with others. This series was quite personal, referencing my own experiences and using myself as the subject for the majority of the works. So it was something I thought I wouldn't have done since I often keep my thoughts to myself. The stressful part of this was how I relied on motivation alone to actually get to work. So whenever I got ideas, I was motivated to create them, but then it would eventually slow down. This project was a good opportunity to practice discipline and persistence, which is something I still need to improve on. I dealt with time management problems and stress by creating to-do lists and setting reminders on my calendar app to constantly remind me of due dates and encourage me to work. Moreover, I worked on several pieces simultaneously to complete them on time. Furthermore, some difficulties I had were trying out new materials during the making of the series. At first, I gravitated towards using materials that I was familiar with because I already knew which combinations of materials worked well together. For one of the pieces, I tried out gouache, which took me quite a while to finish because I was still learning on the go on how to use this kind of paint. Likewise, I also encountered issues with the paints I use, which almost made me restart and begin a whole other piece. Issues with using the materials and ensuring I have time to finish each work made me work on finding solutions better by practicing decision-making skills and critical thinking skills. I resolved these problems by persisting with the materials I have chosen, but then learning to adapt on how I can use these materials to get the desired effect using different techniques. On the other hand, the best moment of this project would have to be whenever I get ideas at random, because it just makes me want to create an experiment. Trying out different approaches when creating a piece and then seeing the final result makes the trial and errors worth it. I've been actually keeping track of my ideas on my phone and listing them on my notes app, which is where the majority of the concept for the pieces come from. Now, some advice I would give to those doing their projects is to prioritize them and keep track of their progress, because it's always better to be on top of the task earlier than be underprepared when the deadline approaches. And with that said, I hope that this passion project can be inspiration for others, and thank you for watching my capstone journey.